Hello everyone, today I'm back with another video. This is one of the versions that I do whereby I record all the way through without editing. I'll be working today with the Happy Hummingbirds from Pinkfresh Studios and the matching 4-piece stencils that goes with. Now, I haven't actually used this set before. I haven't pre-rehearsed this video or a samples. As I say, I haven't used them before, so I don't know how this is going to go, but we'll work with it. I'm not going to be using the sentiment from the centre, so when we get to that we'll have a little play around. I have cut the packets to access them because I was going to make it without recording, but I stopped right at the beginning, so I'm not cheating, I promise. So I did have a piece of card to size. I've already set my stamping platform to rubber. I am working on this A3 piece of white paper. This just keeps me within shot. It is a bit scruffy, I'm afraid, but I'm not really into wastage, so I could have replaced it with a clean piece of paper, but that was a bit unnecessary for the purpose of the video. So the first thing I'll need to do is place the card in the stamping platform. This is a really lovely stamp. It's quite a, I don't say different concept because I'm sure there's plenty of them on the market, but certainly for me, I don't know if I have any or many, if at all any, in my stash. And it looks to be quite straightforward, so we'll see how we get on. So I did remove the centre, as I say, before I made the decision to record the video. So I'm just going to place that. I can get away with putting a magnet in the middle of there, and then the other magnets, I'm just going to find little gaps around the image to place the magnets. I hope I'm within shot there. Maybe I could do with going back a little. There we go. Let me just move some bits off of my desk. Okay. So, the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to heat emboss this, I think. So I'm going to use some embossing ink. So I'm picking that up with the platform. Just move that a little bit. And I'm going to use some VersaFine. I figure that if I'm going to be using, let me get a cloth out as well. Oh, sorry about that. I figure that if I'm going to be using a stencil, I don't want to move the black ink around, so it's best that I heat emboss the stamped image. So just giving that a good coverage all the way over. And when I'm happy, I can go in and impress that. Now I am going to use my tool just to give that a firm impression. We may not need to go in another time. We may get away with having stamped it just the once. But that's the beauty of the stamping platform. We can decide. It's never too late. So I will go in. Let me just see if I can get away with that. There is a piece missing from the centre here, but I think I can get away with that. So actually I shan't go in another time. I'm going to call it there. So I'm going to wipe my stamp clean before popping that away. So bear with. Sorry about the noise. It's a bit like nails on a chalkboard. There we go. So just popping that away. Oh, it's getting caught on that middle stamp there. Right, let's remove the magnets and let's go ahead and heat emboss. So I can pop my stamping platform away now. And I'm just rummaging for my clear embossing powder. Now I've got into the habit of using black ink and clear embossing powder because it's far more forgiving than to emboss with black embossing powder. As we all know, the embossing powder goes everywhere that we don't want it, and I'm sure, as you imagine, you understand that it's less visible if it's clear than if it was black specks everywhere that we didn't want it. So that's how we're looking at the moment. I'm just going to heat emboss that. Let me pop this away. Okay. Okay, so now it's starting to set. Nearly there. It's such a pretty stamp. I really love those little hummingbirds in the corners. Very pretty. Okay. So this is where the fun starts. So I'm just looking for a messy mat. And when I say messy, I really do mean messy. Mine is incredibly messy. Wouldn't be fun if they were clean, no, would it? Right, so I'm just tucking into the stencils now. So these are conveniently labelled up with the numbers in the order in which you use them. So we've got 1, 2, 3 and 4. So I know that I'm going to use 4 different colours. And what I'll need to do is, I don't have any fancy tools that I can do this with. So I'm just going to use some tape. Let me just get some tape. And I'll have to line it up, flip it over and stick the card down to the stencil. So if I do that in 2 places, top and bottom, I think should suffice. So I need to line it up. Oh, that was almost immediate. And I think that will do it. So line it up and then flip it over and put the tape down. And that will hold the stencil in place while I do it. So I need to pick a nice colour. I think we're looking at leaves at the moment, so I need to pick a nice green. So I think I'll go for let's go evergreen bow. So I think for this I'll use a brush. And let's get some kitchen roll. So I'll pick out a green, just take off any excess from previous use. I'm not a lover of these brushes, I say it every time and I maintain it, but I think where there's detail involved, they serve their purpose. Right, so I'm picking this up. I'm really nervous actually. And I'm just going round all the leaves. You can see through the stencil how this is going to start transforming. So I'm just being really generous with that green. There's lots of leaves on here, which is lovely. I love nature. All things nature, wildlife. There we go. So I'm going to keep that there. I'll pop that one aside. And then I was going to put the brushes away, but I'll be needing the brushes. But let me just clean off that brush before I pop it back in the pot. There's a tongue twister for you. Pop it back in the pot. I'm just going to remove that. There we are. Oh, I've held that far too close to the camera. There we go. So I'm just going to clean that off before popping that one away. I don't suppose it really matters in what order that you do these, because none of them are overlapping as such. Nonetheless, I shall do them in the order in which they're given. So let's pop that away. And then we're going for number 2. Right, so now we're moving into floral detail. So for the florals, so what do we have? So I think I'm going to use a pink on the florals. So I think, no, picked raspberry is far too... No, I'm not keen on that. Kitsch flamingo, perhaps. Yes. Let's use some kitsch flamingo. Just clean my pink brush off. And as before, I'm going to lay this over, line it up, and then when I'm happy with that, I can stick that to the tape that we already have on the card. So it's not quite lining up. Bear with. This isn't quite lining up. But I'm persevering. It needs to go up a little and over a little. So I think that's the best I'm going to get it. It's just not quite 100%, which is a little bit frustrating. So kitsch flamingo, let's go. Okay. So these bits in the middle must come under stencil number 3 or 4. Okay. Yes, so this colour does need to, so I was wrong, ignore what I said previously. This colour needs to be lighter. So it needs to be the same colour as what you apply on stencil number 3. But this one needs to be a lighter shade. So actually maybe what I need to do here is go in with some perhaps some Victorian velvet or some spun sugar. That's right. So let me go in with some spun sugar first, because this one needs to be lighter so that the darker colour can go over it quite easily. Okay. So we're working it all out as we go here. Just give that a little bit more. And the lovely little face. And then finally around here for the remainder of the flowers. Oh, not quite over yet. The other hummingbird's little face. There we go. So, dry some of the excess off. So I'll keep that Kitsch Flamingo at hand, because I'm going to be using that for the next stage. That's not too bad. Okay, so let me wipe that down. Pop that away. And then we'll go in with number 3. And this one we're going to be doing the darker pink. So line that up. Not quite. There we go, that's done it. So let's bring that Kitsch Flamingo in now. Oh, lovely. That's a lovely rich pink, this one. Some smaller ones around here. Although I feel like these hummingbirds would have been nice in a blue. So I'm not sure what colour. I feel like I need to introduce a blue to this. So I think I may do that on the 4th stencil, but we'll see what. Yes, the 4th stencil is a beak, the wings. There we go. So I keep these aside until I've completely finished what I'm doing, because I write them up for blogs. I write them down in a notepad. I write down what I've used for certain projects. So I'm leaving everything aside. So they will still be in shot. I could just watch back the video, but I'm not too keen on listening to my own voice. I don't think any of us are we? Right, so now we're going over for the last of the details. So we've got some spots on the hummingbirds, their little beaks and wings, or one wing. And then we've got some dots in the centre of the flowers. So now that I'm satisfied that that's lined up, as best I'm going to get it anyway, I'm going to pick out a blue and Do I want a blue? Yes, I do. I want salvage patina. Perfect. So, just wiping that off. And there's not much on this one. So this is when these brushes really do come into their own, because they really do pick up the tiniest of details on a stencil. This may not make much sense in terms of the colours that I've chosen. I mean, I'm not sure you'd see a hummingbird with a blue beak. However, we have artistic license, don't we, in crafting, and it certainly needed some blue. So, who's judging, right? There we go. So let's pop them away now, get them out of my way. Pop that to the side. Right, let's remove this and see how we get on. Oh, that's pretty. Isn't that pretty? Do I need that other light on? That's better. Okay, so let's just pop that aside. Clean up the stencil and pop that away. So now what's left is, I think it needs some spatter. Sorry, I'm trying to put this stencil away, but I think there's there we go. Right, so pop that there for now. What I now need is a sentiment to go in the middle. So I haven't any idea. I do need to make up some particular cards for certain occasions for a fair that I'm doing. And I did have a list, but I don't know where I've put that list now. Is this it? So I need to do new baby, new home, or condolences. So I might do a condolence. So I'm just looking through my sentiment stamps to see what I have. So I'm going to look through my clearly besotted. So we've got, no, that's a polka doodles, nothing on there for this one. Not feeling that font, that won't work. So we have a pretty pink posh here. So what do we have here? With heartfelt sympathy. That could work. Happy anniversary. Be mine always. You give the best hugs. You are my sunshine on a cloudy day. Oh, how lovely are some of these. To my best friend, you're lovely. Celebrate. I'm so very sorry, forgive me. Best dad, good luck. New job. Now let's go with, oh, let's just check this one. What's this? Seasonal sentiments. Now let's just go with the pretty pink posh. Let's not over-egg it, overthink it. I don't know what this mark is here, but that's not very pretty. Oh, let's splat it first. Let's do some spats. So I think we'll do some black and some white. So for the black, in fact, while I'm getting one out, I may as well get both of them out. So we've got some black Indian ink from Winsor & Newton, and I do have a white one, which needs, although, yeah, I've got into there okay. Black one, yep. Okay, so for this, I'm just going to dip the side of the brush in. Oh, making a right old mess there. So we don't want too much. I think that will suffice. Well, I've made that worse, haven't I? And then let's do some white. Just dipping this side in, because I'm using a fan brush, it won't all go in there. There we go. That'll do nicely. Right, so pop that away. I'm just going to pop my water away. One sec, guys. So I will need to give that a little dry with the heat gun. So bear with me while I just give that a quick blast. Sorry, some of the spats have, they're 3D. I'm not too sure why some of them have landed 3D. Perhaps the ink needed a little mix, more so than what I did. I'll give it a small shake. There we go. So, let's get rid of the messy mat for a moment. So that's where we're at right now. So I'll bring in the stamp set, and we're going in with Heartfelt Sympathy. I'm going to do that on some black card. So I think that's the perfect length actually for that, the perfect width. I'm just going to get rid of these inks. Just pop that up there. So let's first prepare the area. So this is the Pretty Pink Posh Simple Sentiments. I mean, it goes without saying that I love a sentiment. I think half of my stash overall is our sentiment sets. Okay, So I'm going to need my Versamark, some white embossing powder, okay, and then I'm standing up for this part, guys, so I just want to make sure that I get this absolutely straight. I think that's the best I'm going to get. So pop this away, because there's nothing worse in crafting than getting embossing powder on your stamps. Am I right? So let's put that away. However, the worst part is that 9 times out of 10 I have to stamp it again, and I have to go through the whole process of getting it out of the packet again. Oops, always drop that. Right, white embossing powder. Sprinkle that on generously. There we go. There's something in there which shouldn't be. And now I've smudged that. Why? That'll do. Right, so I'm going to heat set this. Then I need to trim that down. I'm going to use my large trimmer because I find that I get better results in terms of straightness. I find the A5 ones very unreliable. I have 2 and both are 40. So there we go, with heartfelt sympathy. So that's going to go across the middle there. Liking that so far. First, before I mount that, stick that down, I need to mount this. So I need to get a card blank. And it certainly needs trimming down. So I'm going to trim. So let's do that first. Let's trim off the absolute excess, and then we'll measure it up and see what needs coming off. Right, so that's right to the lines. Again, is that. There's a little bit more excess at the top and the bottom. Right, and then let's see. Let's turn this over. So this is better for an American 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I think actually I'm going to do that now. So I'm just getting out a piece of cardstock. But I should have known it'd be American sizing. Right, so we need that to be, that's a bit tatty that side. So the 5 1/2 is, nope, the 4 1/4 is the width. And then let's fold this now. Just pop that down for a moment. Get my bone folder. Right, so we've got the width, and now I need to trim the length down to 5 1/2, which is not an awful lot off. And now that should fit snug as a bug on here. I think what I'm going to do is pop that on a black background. So let's just get some card out, some black card. Oh. Sorry guys, had a little disaster. There we go. Right, so some black card. So all I'm going to do is measure that up to the exact size of the A2 card blank. I'm going to use a white pencil just to mark those cut lines. So we'll go within the cut lines, so we know this is the panel that we need. So I'll go to the right of that cut line, and then same again within that cut line. So that should now, that needs a little trim. Other than that, a trim off the top, but other than that, it's a good size. There we go. So let's get that all stuck down. So good coverage of glue there, because this is the base layer, and then that way that ties in with the black spats that I've done, and then it brings that sentiment comes in and complements it quite nicely, and then that'll be it. That's not too bad going, considering I didn't know where I was going with that or how that would come out. It's always a risk when you do things that you haven't prepared. But when that risk pays off, it's incredibly satisfying. So sometimes I don't always use a black mat or layer. I never know which is which. Sometimes I gut it, but for the sake of this video I've not done that. Sometimes it just adds a quality to the card that you can't get any other way. Right, and it's just, we're doing these 2D because I'm assuming that everyone, we all want to keep postage costs down, don't we? So whoever's going to be purchasing this card will be purchasing it, or maybe purchasing it in mind of sending it. So there'd be nothing worse than having to fork out cost of postage once you've already paid the cost of the card. So there we go. I think that's really pretty. I might just add some white lines, some white highlight. So I'm just going to, I'm looking for my Jelly Roll pen in the 10. No. There we go. So I'm just going to add some, what I'm actually going to do, because this is bothering me, some of that ink has gone over the, I'm looking for my rag of tissue, some of that ink has gone over the embossed lines and it's blurred them a little, it's dulled them down, so I'm just going over some of that embossed detail. I'm really nervous doing this actually, in case some of the paint spat isn't quite dry. But just going over some of that embossed detail and just buffing it up, bringing it back to its brightest self again. There we go. Right, so now with that white detail, so just adding that to some of the leaves. And then to the eye, a little to the spot. Let's deal with one thing at a time. So let's do the hummingbirds first. Let's do some highlight down their little back. There we go. So some of the flowers. Back to some of those leaves. I won't do all of them because we could be here quite a while we do all of them, but it is incredibly therapeutic. So let's just add some little dots. And then just a bit more detail around the bottom here in the way of highlight. So I'm just adding some dots to some of those outlines. Sometimes when there isn't quite a call for a stroke of highlights, some little dots suffice. There we go. There we are. Right, thank you for joining me, and hopefully I'll be back again with another video for you. Thanks again and take care. Bye.